Before I talk about Tweener, I'd like to quickly mention a pretty cool exercise that we did this week in animDojo. A few weeks ago we were given an exercise where we had a beginning pose and an end pose, and we had to come up with the breakdown and animate how to get from one pose to another. This time was kind of the opposite. This time we were given a single pose, and then we had to decide whether it was a beginning, middle, or end pose, and then design an animation around it. I was only able to get it to step mode, but I felt like my blocking was pretty good. Once you have animBot installed, you can find Tweener right down here. It's this yellow scale with the TW button in the middle. And it's the same old classic tween machine that you might know and you can get as its own script, but it also has some more advanced capabilities. If I just highlight it there on the button, you'll see kind of an instructional graphic that shows you how to use it. Now, I'll admit I'm still only using it kind of in the classic way, but bottom line, it can save you a ton of time in posing your breakdown poses. So the basic idea is that you have, say, two poses, and I'll bring this up here. Here's a beginning pose, and here's an end pose. So you have these two poses, and you need to make a breakdown in between them. So what you do is you select one control, or all of the controls, or really anything in between, and you use Tweener then to get that pose that you want started. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to animate for you, but it can get you close to the pose that you're looking for, and then you can make those detailed tweaks until it's perfect. So looking a little closer here at this scale, if you select your controls and you click on the TW button, that's going to get you that exact interpolation between the two poses, much like Maya would give you in, say, spline or linear mode. And if you click to the left, then you're going to get closer to the previous pose. And if you click to the right, you're going to get closer and closer to the next pose. So if I show the controls here, that would be NURBS curves. You can see I have them on. Just for example's sake, I'm going to select all of the curves. I have a pose here on frame 1 and a pose here on frame 9. Halfway in between would be frame 5. So again, if I hit that TW button right in the middle, that's going to give me the pose that's exactly halfway in between those two. Now that's great. I used all of the controls and I've got everything halfway, but that's not how motion works. So in this particular instance, what is driving the motion? And almost always it is the hips or the cogs. So I'm going to select both the hip control and the main controller here. And if I grab Tweener, and I'm saying that this is driving the motion, then this is going to happen faster than halfway in between. So I want it closer to the next pose. So I can just start kind of dragging, and you can see what it's doing as I'm even dragging it. You even get a little percentage marker down there. Now I'll just bring that back. Or I can just click on any of these buttons, and these represent probably like 20, 40, 60, 80%, and so on. So maybe I want the hips and cog way up front here. And probably what's going to happen is the last thing that's going to roll through is the shoulder and the arm. So let's select that shoulder control and all these arm controls. And that's probably going to be a lot closer to the previous pose. So I'll just do that. So my breakdown ends up being something like that. And from here, I would go ahead and I would tweak this pose. But it's given me really quickly a really nice breakdown or start to my breakdown pose. Now, here's where it can get kind of crazy. So if I highlight this TW button and I right click it, now I can use Tweener to, or I can change the blend modes in Tweener. Now this part I haven't really used, so I don't quite have my head wrapped around it, but you can see all of these different variations that you can do with the blending. And then lastly, If you click on this icon here to the right, you can see that kind of extends Tweener, and this is called overshoot mode. So maybe later on I have a pose after this one, and or not after this one, but right before this one, and I want the whole pose to kind of go past my next key and then rock back. You know, I might select all those controls and then do something like that. So you can see now I got to this pose, and it's a little bit further. The arm, all the twisting, everything has gone a little bit further, and then pops back. So with overshoot mode on, you're able to go past that previous or next pose. I plan on making more of these videos where I demo some of the useful tools that I use while animating. I hope this was helpful for you, and please let me know in the comments if it was. Thank you for watching.